People who no longer speak to their best friends who they thought would be in their lives forever. Why did you stop talking being best friends? We were completely inseparable through middle and high school and had always planned to stay together through college. She didn't get into my choice schools. So, being an extremely dumb and anxious teenager, I foolishly agreed to attend a second-rate school with her instead, as not to be alone. Shortly before the start of our freshman year of college, she informed me she was no longer going to school with me and was instead moving to Nick to live with a guy she met on the internet. She'd known this for months but neglected to tell me until it was too late to do anything about it. I hope this false friend didn't damage your future, and that you're doing better now. 74yo. Most of my friends are dead. Don't worry Bob, your Reddit friends are still here. I tried to help her with her addiction to drugs and she cut me off. It's been 6 years since I talked to her and I just found out she died. I have known her since I was 16 and I am 54 now. It was very hard to see how she changed from a sweet girl to a completely different person. The story and ages are identical to my aunt and her best friend, teenage BFFs. Aunt had lifelong drug habit, just died at 50ish years old. Family hadn't talked to her in 10 years. Just kind of faded out. We had different friend groups as adults, and as time went on the once a week dinner turned into once a year. Once a year turned into not even talking at all. Yep, same. We were besties in high school but found different groups in college. Our birthdays are 3 days apart so we speak then. He borrowed my $600 guitar amp for a show and never gave it back. We were friends since the 3rd grade. I have severe trust issues with my music gear because how I've seen people treat others' belongings. That equipment is like a part of me and they'll treat it like trash if given the chance. I got ill, regular doctor's appointments and didn't have the energy to do lots of activities. They just stopped talking to me and blanked me when they saw me. She changed completely our senior year of high school. We were the exact same person, loved the same things, got along like sisters. Then she started prepping for her freshman year of college at a southern school, and completely overhauled her life to look perfect for the sororities. She started partying, only hanging out with the cool kids, refusing to let me tag her in photos, and just became really focused on her appearance, not just physical, but how her whole life appeared to an outsider. It's like she lived her life as an Instagram model. Everything had to look perfectly perfect. We just faded out and stopped talking because I didn't fit her new life. I still think about her a lot because we were so close and I've never had a friend remotely as close to me as her. It hurts a lot that she just changed and left me behind and didn't seem to care. I think these kind of people really regret everything when they get older. Or, social media takes off even more in the future and they live the perfect life in their pics. After several years just realized I always felt awful about myself after leaving his and his family's presence. Our mutual friends had a saying, it's not a trip to XXXX's house until you get criticized. From the clothes you were wearing, to how dirty your car is, just a barrage of crap. The final straw was when I was dating my now wife. We went to go hang out at his house, and he immediately pounces on my appearance. Was wearing a hard hat all day, my hair looked a little funky, then handed me a bag of aluminum cans for me to recycle and put towards my house fund. Was in deep saving mode. Fortunately my wife was a good sport, but realizing what the heck this guy was trying to accomplish, embarrassing me in front of someone I'm interested in for no reason at all, walked out after that and never looked back. Cut out completely. Anyone who talks down to my boyfriend instantly gets written off in my books. It's a gross power play, and all it does is make me think what an butthole the person is. My boyfriend has one friend I refuse to talk to or acknowledge because of crap like that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Alcoholism, drugs, robbed his family blind. Tried robbing me, and even though he had $800 of my cash stuffed down his pants along with 2 gold chains sticking out of his pocket and a gold and diamond ring, he still denied it. Beat the crap out of him and took my stuff back. Took him back to his house so his parents could deal with him. They tried shipping him off to the army but he failed the drug test, wound up moving to another state and becoming an alcoholic bartender. We're the same age. When I see pictures of him now I can't even recognize him. He looks easily 20 plus years older than I do. Turns out they weren't really friends at all. Lot of lies, manipulation, being used by them. It took me many years to understand what true friendship means, but at least now I know that I can trust those around me. Frick, I've only recently got out of a situation like that. It sucks to realize it, but goddamn do I feel better now that I'm out of it. Bought me a $3,000 computer setup, then the following week his parents called me to let me know he committed suicide. At the time it didn't make any sense and was seemingly out of the blue. I had known him since elementary all up till we graduated college, and he was quite literally the best person I knew, and TBH I looked up to him. He carried a charisma that drew people to him but was never arrogant. One of the most, if not the most selfless guy I knew, and was always considerate, inclusive of others. Handsome dude that was committed to maintaining good fitness, so it always seemed like he had his crap together. Since he happened to be a total fantasy sci-fi nerd, and funnily enough the best gamer out of us, was in great shape, and had such a humble personality, we had jokingly nicknamed him the unicorn for being a human being that shouldn't exist. Our first night ever drinking, he drank enough to totally black out. As he started to sober up, he started crying about how worthless he felt. First and last time he ever blacked out, and looking back afterwards he had always been methodical in how he drank. This was the only time I had seen him in such a vulnerable state, and we had all just laughed it off that night, thinking he just happened to cry while drunk. The recalling of that still makes me cringe. Makes me wonder if I ever had the right to be his best friend. If he was suffering I had never known. I miss him. Knowing that he emotionally abuses the absolute heck out of every girl he dates. I was best friends with someone for 12 years and we did everything together. Well, everything that she wanted. It was always about her and her schedule, never compromising for me. I went to every event she had, even her parents' anniversary dinner. One year my mother had just passed away and I was home alone. I asked her to come over and she said she was going to a friend's house to party because she broke up with her boyfriend. We haven't spoken to each other in probably 2 years and I've never been happier. They stopped putting in the effort to hang out. I was always the one trying to get together and they would blow me off almost every time. Finally, I stopped trying and now we don't talk at all. This is how most of my friendships have ended. It's so frustrating. I had a friend I always hung out with in high school. We were absolute best friends, did everything together. After high school, I attended the local college. He went into the workforce. He started to spend more and more time at a local gaming place, Frags. Almost any time he wasn't working, or, on the rare occasion, hanging out with friends other than his fellow gamers. He was there playing an MMO. Can't remember which one. It was really popular at the time. There had been a few occasions that he blew off spending time with me, but no big deal. I understood he had his fun things he wanted to do, even if I wasn't really into it. However, there were a few other times where we made plans with friends, and he just forgot. He would sit for hours in front of the computer screen at Frags, and totally lose track of time. The next day he'd be all apologetic, and we would forgive him. One day, I got tickets to a comedian we both liked. He was going to be performing locally. I had just 2 tickets, so it was just me and him. We made plans to see the performance, and I went to pick him up at his place about an hour before the show. I get to his house, and his family hasn't seen him. His sister says, of course, he's probably at Frags. I head there, and sure enough, he was there, but has gone to grab food with other people, and has no plans whatsoever to meet up with me. I got so mad in that moment that he would just blow me off like that. He probably forgot. Like I said, not the first time, but it was just so hurtful that we could go from best friends to this. I guess everything just kind of blew up at that point, and his behavior just made me switch off. I went to see the comedian by myself, sitting alone, which wasn't much fun. Those kinds of experiences are things you want to share with someone, you know? He never even tried to get in touch with me until about 3 days later, when he called my house. I told my parents to tell him I'm not home, and I never spoke to him again. That was about 18 years ago now. Ghosted me after 15 years of friendship. Went to his house one day to ask if things are okay, that if he's going through something. He told me things are okay and that he's just busy. I started to leave his house and I told him text me. He smiled and went into his house. That was the last thing I've ever said to him. Haven't seen him in over 3 years. He died. Him and his wife were in a motorcycle accident and neither of them made it. My son had been born recently and I kept putting off introducing him to them because we'll go tomorrow. They never got to meet him. My son will never meet my best friend and I regret my laziness so much. You can still introduce your son to him through pictures and stories. I'm a big believer in the belief that we only truly die when no one remembers us. Best friend since kindergarten. First friend I made in my new town. Freshman year of college I was home for break and he was over my house with another friend. I went upstairs to talk with my parents and left them downstairs in the den. When I came back I couldn't find my phone so I checked upstairs again. Then when I gave up and came back downstairs I noticed it poking out from under the couch. Sweet. They leave pretty soon after. And pretty soon after that I get a text from my college friend, who has the same name as the other friend that was over, saying, "Hey, your GF is pretty but I'm not sure why you sent me a bunch of nude pics of her. I'm gonna go ahead and assume it was by accident and delete them." Turns out my friends took my phone, found my GFS nudes, sent them to themselves, tried. They picked someone else with the same name, deleted the outgoing message, hid my phone, let me look for it, then planted it where it could be found. The only reason I ever found out is because my very gay friend from college was open enough to message me about it. I never talked to those other two again. I have a primal rage when I think about the pathology it takes to do something like that. Fear not my people. Man, that's really fricked. At least very gay friend came out as MVP. You Corbett and I were friends since 4th grade. I'm 31 now. He got hit by a drunk driver on Tuesday, the 11th of September, 2018, and was killed instantly. It's been 1 week since he left my house and he never made it home. She moved literally 1,000 miles/1,600 km away, got married, bought a house, had a kid, quit her job to stay at home, and I was still living a 20-something yuppie single life in the big city. I went to her wedding and I'm very happy for her, but we stopped having much in common. Best friend of 11-12 years slept with my girlfriend of 6 years. Now they live together with my old dog. Hurts, man. Bastards. Hope you get your dog back someday. He disappeared and never answered my messages. Same. Until he needed something. I blocked his number. He's trying to send me messages by texting my girlfriend. We were only friends based on proximity. When we went to different schools there wasn't any reason to continue being friends. I think that's my deal as well. My best friend during middle school abandoned me once we entered high school. Even though we came from wildly different backgrounds, her being from an affluent Jewish household and me being from a lower middle class Vietnamese household, we had been inseparable during middle school. Once high school rolled around after she had been hanging out with a new crowd that summer, she told me that I was too boring and she wanted me out of her life. The pain and confusion of the abandonment left me in a bad spot for the first years of high school, but I finally came into my own and I could say with confidence that I was not a boring person. Frick you, Michelle. She was emotionally abusive, controlling and manipulative. Long story. I thought she was my best friend, but when we first became friends she slowly started to isolate me from others under the guise of everyone else being a nuisance, bitchy, etc. When she got a girlfriend it only got worse. BC she would plan something with me only to cancel last minute but expect me to be there immediately when something went wrong, or get jealous of either of us started talk to anyone else. It got to the point where I would skip class, assignments and even quizzes to tend to her needs. I should have stopped talking to her earlier, but it felt like if I didn't tend to her needs, I'd see her again at the hospital from a suicide attempt or from self-harm. One night after getting high off her butt, she told me how important I was to her, how I'm the most important person in her life and that she couldn't live without me, just so that the next night she could essentially tell me to frick off and frick all the crap I did for her. I finally dropped her out of my life when I realized I was also super depressed, dropped 15 pounds in a month, and was struggling way too much with my classes. I had to drop out of school and go home so I could recollect myself. Not a bad story considering the fact that her ex-girlfriend is now my best friend. We bonded over the same piece of crap. Childhood friend for over 20 years. Became terrible at responding to text and calls. So I stopped trying to reach out to him and waited patiently. It's been 5 years and he still hasn't reached out. She ghosted me after about 20 years of friendship. I foolishly didn't see it coming and tried for a few months to call, text her. No response. I grieved for a long time. Edit. Thanks guys. My most popular post. And I'm so sorry to see it is about such a lousy topic. Lol. And to update. No, I never found out why. Same here. I could only reach out and not get a response so many times before I gave up. 10 years of wonderful memories for me apparently meant nothing to her. Powerful life lesson, though. Just because you care about them doesn't mean they care about you. She died 2 years ago, after a brief fight with cancer. She's still my best friend, but we will no longer speak again. I miss her constantly. I doubt anyone will see this 3k posts down, but it's nice to have an outlet sometimes. Brain aneurysm 8 years ago. RIP Ben. This kinda fits. One of my 3 best friends from high school was a big jerk. He was mostly nice to me, but he was always 100% authentic with people, and that often meant he was pretty rude. He lived by me and we liked the same sports and we had fun doing stuff together, so I was pretty good friends with him, but I always knew he was a jerk. One other interesting part is that he was basically the fat kid his whole life. Then after his sophomore year of high school he lost like 80 pounds and was no longer fat. He was like 6'3" and went from probably 280 to right around 200. So he kinda acted like Cartman but was no longer actually fat. One time in a baseball game my friend was being a jerk and the other team's coach called my friend a skinny butt. He thought it was too funny. Anyways, after high school I went to college and he started working oil fields making pretty good money. I barely ever saw him. Then one of my 3 best friends died in a car crash. The friend that died was a mutually good friend and we hung out all the time. I went to the funeral and I knew my jerk best friend would be there and I didn't know what he would do. We hadn't talked in years. I saw him at the funeral and he completely ignored me. Never pretended like he didn't see me or anything, but just did not care about my presence. I snickered to myself a little and thought, yup, seems just about right. I don't think he has bad feelings towards me. I don't towards him, but it is what it is. Being authentic doesn't mean being an butthole. It means not putting on airs or fake politeness. You have been visited by the happy baby pygmy murder cow. Back away slowly and subscribe quickly to ensure your safety. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.